production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, see what's being done to reduce food waste, and you may eventually see the results on your smartphone.
In our Southern Gardening segment, the oak leaf hydrangea is a natural and it's tough.
In the Food Factor, cut costs by cutting up your own chicken.
Our first feature story today is about the first woman to be named Mississippi's Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year.
When we first came up here and talked to Patrice and them, one of the first things she said was she wants something growing on every inch of her farm. And she didn't care if that was grass, trees, or whatever. If she couldn't grow trees there, she was going to grow something else there.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. Today, it's a feature story edition of our show. Recently, tree farmer Patrice O'Brien of Jackson was honored by the Forest Landowners Association with its National Forest Landowner of the Year award. That's not surprising if you've been to her family's Twin Oaks tree farm. In 2013, she was the first woman to be named Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year by the Mississippi Forestry Association. There's a long family history at Twin Oaks, but tradition doesn't mean living in the past. O'Brien and her family make sure Twin Oaks pulls its own weight by developing multiple income streams on the property.
One day I was riding my four-wheeler down through here, and as I got down to this end, a mother turkey flew up into the tree, and there were all kinds of little baby turkeys just right there around me. It was so exciting, so thrilling to watch them as they took to cover, and I was just right there amongst them.
Wildlife management for hunting and enjoyment is one of the many goals being accomplished at Twin Oaks Farm. The 1,200-acre tree farm is located in Yalobusha County. It's owned by O'Brien and her sister, Joy Swearingen. O'Brien is the managing partner. She's definitely not an absentee landlord.
What got my attention was her enthusiasm in managing just not necessarily the forest, but the entire property, and being a good steward of the entire property, all aspects of a property. She's real involved.
Twin Oaks has been a certified tree farm since 1959. The farm has been under a written management plan since O'Brien's father passed away in 1982.
It's been a real pleasure working with them. They've got just a variety of stands, and I was able to update their tree farm plan 2 years ago. With 1,200 acres, they've got, I think I calculated there were about 20 different stands on the property in a variety of age class distributions, so we got a lot to work with.
As far as wildlife, we have the hunt club revenues, and then we have the fish club revenues. And my husband is exploring and getting into beekeeping, and I do some production gardening.
Multiple income streams are a priority at Twin Oaks. The goal is to use the land's resources in a sustainable, professionally managed manner.
When we first came up here and talked to Patrice and them, one of the first things she said was she wants something growing on every inch of her farm. And she didn't care if that was grass, trees, or whatever. If she couldn't grow trees there, she was going to grow something else there.
One of those income streams is hunting leases. Gary Crafton leads the Tillatoba Hunting Club on the Twin Oaks property. O'Brien wanted a long-term lease with a small club. This fit Crafton and his brother Glenn's expectations. This allows them to make facility investments they would not otherwise make if the lease was year to year. They also practice quality deer management. This is the largest buck harvested so far, but all bucks have increased in size.
Deer of this size were the high-end bucks that we were seeing on this place when we first began hunting on this lease. And through proper nutrition and age, we're now seeing more and more bucks like this, letting the young bucks live, harvesting numbers of does.
With 48 acres of water and 2 lakes, fishing has always been an interest at Twin Oaks, especially for Lamar O'Brien, Patrice's husband. Professionally managed with the help of consultant Larry Clay, the lakes are now part of a fishing club where the members pay an annual fee. Largemouth bass, crappie, and brim can be found. At this point, catching a string of 2 to 2.5 pound bass is common, with some 10-pounders reported.
We've had this going on for about 5 years now, and we've had consistent members every year. Matter of fact, this last year, all of our members re-upped.
I've been encouraged by it. This one in particular with the shad take, like I said, we put them in about 3 years ago. Everywhere we look today, we saw shad. So a bass or a crappie that's hungry, all they've got to do is open their mouth pretty much and get a meal.
They're looking, like Larry said, for a quality fishing experience, where on a private lake, they don't have a lot of the conflict with other folks in public lakes. They enjoy coming out here fishing. If they catch 10 or 15 fish, it's been a good day.
Twin Oaks has been in Patrice O'Brien's family since the early 1840s. The oldest part of the farmhouse dates back to 1917, the barn to the 1940s. Trees blown down by storms are sawn into boards and used for repairs to the house and barn, such as this hallway flooring and kitchen cabinets. While Twin Oaks is a working farm, there are places known as special sites. This cypress lowland O'Brien and her daughter Kelly are walking through has been set aside for generations.
This area has been set aside. My grandfather found it to be a special place and passed it down to his children, and my mom will pass it down to me. It really is just a special place.
This is a scion, Bill.
This is the site of one of the darkest days at Twin Oaks Farm. It occurred in early spring 2007. A woods arsonist set fire to a 9-year-old 65-acre stand of Conservation Reserve Program hardwood trees.
I could not believe that somebody would dislike us so much or have such an evil desire in their heart to burn these beautiful trees. I just could not believe it.
While the whole stand did not burn, there was extensive damage. Fortunately, the fire occurred when the trees were dormant. In the spring, many of the trees grew sprouts from the roots called scions. That was a blessing, but for 3 winters, the O'Briens sawed out the dead trunks and thinned the scions, all the while fighting briars and brush.
If we hadn't done it, you would have had virtually non-merchantable trees here, or you would have had some, because each one of these scions takes energy from the roots there. So they're competing with each other. Really what you want is to be able to eliminate down to the main scion, so all the energy from the roots go into this main scion.
The CRP hardwood trees had been planted originally in an effort to halt the growing erosion along Tillatoba Creek and its tributary on Twin Oaks Farm. The problem started in the 1960s after the construction of Interstate 55 west of the farm. Inadequate culverts prompted flooding along the creek. Dredging efforts downstream of Twin Oaks eventually caused massive amounts of erosion on Twin Oaks itself. O'Brien remembers when the tributary creek was a ditch you could step over.
We've estimated that we've lost probably somewhere between 4.5 and 8 acres of land. Valuable, cultivatable, fertile cropland to this creek erosion.
O'Brien and her sister, with support from Yalobusha County, worked with Mississippi's U.S. Senators Thad Cochran and Trent Lott. Money was finally allocated in the 2002 Farm Bill to install berms, drainage pipes, and riprap.
We'd already spent over $10,000 in pipes and culverts and ditch work to hold what we thought we could hold, but it kept washing out. Even the county roads up here, they've spent probably close to $1 million on bridges.
While Patrice O'Brien is a hands-on tree farm owner, she's also very active on behalf of forestry in Mississippi and the United States. She's hosted forestry field days at Twin Oaks. O'Brien has served in several positions with the Mississippi Forestry Association, including the Board of Directors. Nationally, she's been a member of the Forest Landowners Association, serving as a regional vice president and board member, even traveling to Washington to lobby on behalf of forestry.
She's also been the president of the Rankin County Forestry Association, and she was the secretary-treasurer for many, many years. A lot of things get done when Patrice O'Brien's involved.
Eventually, the care of Twin Oaks Farm will fall to the 5th generation, O'Brien's children, Kelly and Brad. Twin Oaks appears to be in good hands.
But there's something about having a place to call home and having a piece of property that's your own, not just a house, but land to tend and a garden to grow and fresh tomatoes on the table. And it's hard to imagine life without Twin Oaks, finding your peaceful spot.
And you can watch this story again on Patrice on our Farmweek website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The website address is farmweek.msucares.com. You can try out our Facebook page. Give us a like if you would, please. And Facebook fans see our stories first on Friday. And Leighton, once again, she did win the Forest Landowner of the Year award. I mean, that's a national award from a national organization, and we congratulate her on that.
Well, time, artists, for today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. Normally we talk about the big acreage crops in Mississippi, but we're going in a different direction today. Our question: how many certified organic farms were there in Mississippi according to the latest USDA information? Is the answer 24, 72, 125, or 201? We'll have that answer after today's Food Factor segment.
Oak leaf hydrangeas are large and beautiful shrubs found all across the Southeast. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says there are some petite oak leaf hydrangeas available, which are perfect for filling those smaller niches on your landscape.
Can you name a native shrub that has white flowers in the spring and oak-like leaves? Well, you're right if you said oak leaf hydrangea. Today's Southern Gardening is visiting our neighbors at the LSU Ag Center in Hammond and enjoying their oak leaf hydrangeas. In the spring, the flowers are the main attraction and made up of many smaller individual flowers grouped in cone-shaped clusters that can be up to a foot in length. These plants need ample space to grow and spread. In fact, this plant has the potential to reach 8 feet tall if left unpruned. But even if you don't have room for a large plant, there are several smaller selections that really show potential. Ruby Slippers is a compact form that matures to only 4 feet tall and 5 feet wide. The flower panicles emerge white, but quickly turn pink before finally maturing to ruby red. Munchkin is a dwarfish growing plant, only 3 to 4 foot tall and wide, with white 6-inch flower clusters held above the foliage that gradually turn pink as they age. Another smaller option to consider is the selection Queen of Hearts. This is a slower growing plant that may reach 5 foot tall after 10 years. The cone-shaped flowers, which are displayed above the foliage, open white and mature to a deep pink color. As you can see, there are several size options for oak leaf hydrangeas to grow in your garden. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Oak leaf hydrangeas will grow in full sun to partial shade. Harsh winters with temperatures below -10 degrees will cause them to lose flower buds or possibly die.
It's convenient to buy already cut chicken parts in your store, but it's also more expensive. Many, however, are overwhelmed by that prospect of cutting up a whole chicken. Well, in this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes with the Mississippi State University Extension says you can do it, and the more you do it, the faster and easier it becomes.
Have you ever compared the prices of the different packages of chicken? Have you noticed that pre-cut chicken costs more than a whole chicken you could cut up yourself? To show us how easy it is, we met with retired extension agent Patty Draper to do a demonstration. First, check the cavity for extra parts and remove them. Next, feel for the wing joint and cut your way through. To cut the leg quarters, slice through the skin first. Cut along the muscle and through the joint. Then separate the leg from the thigh. Use scissors to cut the back out. There's a place to naturally snap the back into two. Save the back and extra parts to make chicken stock. We'll cut the breast into 3 pieces. Feel for the pulley bone or wishbone and cut the lower portion of the breast away. Then use scissors or a knife to cut apart the 2 large breast pieces. Cutting up a whole chicken can seem intimidating at first, but once you get the hang of it, you can have a variety of pieces to feed your whole family. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
Natasha says using a sharp knife will make cutting up the whole chicken easier and save time. Well, it's time for the answer to today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. Again, we wanted to know how many certified organic farms there are in Mississippi. Well, the answer is 24, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. There were 24 in 2011, which covered 1,500 acres.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. As much as 30% of the food produced in America is wasted. Find out what's being done to reduce food waste and recycle it. You may even see the results on your smartphone.
There are some moments in life where everything seems to be just right. Time slows down, and memories are made that will last a lifetime. That is, unless you've got fire ants. Then those memories can quickly turn into nightmares. It's time to bite back, Mississippi. Learn how to make your yard a safe place to play again at msucares.com/biteback.
Now, before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The next Mississippi Row Crop Technology Showcase takes place Wednesday, July 15th. The location is Maphis' Black Belt Branch Experiment Station of Mississippi State University. It's located north of Brooksville on Highway 45. The hours are 9 a.m. to noon. Lunch is provided. The new Enlist herbicide technology will be discussed, as well as crop tolerance to other herbicide programs. Spray tank contamination and off-target movement will also be covered. This field day is subject to the weather, so watch the MississippiCrops.com website for updates. And another Mississippi Row Crop Technology Showcase will take place the following day, Thursday, July 16th. It will be held at the North Farm of Mississippi State University on Highway 182 in Starkville. Once again, the hours are 9 to noon. Lunch will be provided. The new Roundup Ready and Extend herbicide technology platforms will be covered. Go to our website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Our last feature story today is about food waste. We grow a lot of high-quality food in America, but we don't think about how much of it is actually eaten. In 2010, the U.S. Department of Agriculture says 30% of the 430 billion pounds of food produced here wasn't consumed. Most of it ended up in landfills. There are people working to reduce or reuse America's leftovers. One day you may see their efforts on the face of your smartphone. Harvest Public Media's Ryan Robertson explains.
Food waste is more than just the leftovers people toss out. There's waste in the creation of food as well. Some companies have found ways to reuse and recycle that waste. Take Prairieland Dairy. There's a lot of manure coming from their 1,400 cows. But that manure, combined with waste from another Nebraska food manufacturer, makes good compost. Prairieland diverts about 2,000 tons of food waste from the county landfill every year for composting. A substantial amount for an operation of this size, but not much compared to the 35 million tons of food waste that goes to landfills nationally. But diverting that food fits with their motto: don't waste anything.
The cow gives us our 3 M's, milk, meat, and manure, so we take advantage of all 3 of them.
That third M, manure, is why Prairieland started its composting program. It's the byproduct of dairy production, another kind of food waste. Composting speeds up the natural process of the breakdown and decay of organic materials. With time and a little maintenance, a nutrient-rich material is made, perfect for yards and gardens. But it takes more than manure to make good compost, which is why Prairieland adds yard and food waste to the mix.
We found out that about 85% of the stuff that goes to the landfill is compostable. So if we can just pull that stuff from our industrial sites and our grocery stores and also our school cafeterias, then we can pull that out of the landfill and reduce the landfill fill up by 85%.
To divert food from the landfill, Prairieland is partnering with one of the nation's largest food manufacturers, ConAgra Foods, based in Omaha. At ConAgra's Crunch and Munch popcorn facility in Lincoln, the kernels that don't pop up quite right, the old maids, are separated out and sent to the dairy's compost piles.
In a manufacturing environment, there are always going to be a certain level of losses, yield losses, or incidents of failure that are going to generate waste.
Gail Tavel is the Vice President of Sustainability at ConAgra. Her job includes finding where the company is wasteful and trimming the fat.
When we set our goal, it was to divert at least 75% of materials from landfill. Today we're over 90 across the board, and we have a handful of facilities that actually don't fill landfill anything. We segregate those out, put a for donation only label on them.
Tavel says ConAgra has partnerships with organizations all over the country to recycle food waste, or what she now refers to as byproducts. In a ConAgra tomato processing plant in California, seeds and skins are being turned into highly nutritious feed for animals. Even the water in the tomato, which makes up about 80% of the fruit, is also extracted and used for irrigation in nearby fields.
It just makes sense to, recirculate that water versus having it go out of the stack in terms of steam. So it just makes sense to capture water, especially in a state that is prone to drought.
But every operation produces some waste. After all, some things just can't be eaten. Research engineer Ivan Cornejo at the Colorado School of Mines is finding different ways to utilize food waste.
The process starts by collecting food wastes from different sources. And then what we do with this, we process to extract the minerals.
Cornejo has a big idea to reduce food down to its building blocks, but he's not making compost.
I started working in the ceramic group, and then I started working more on the trash to glass concept.
You heard that right. Cornejo and his colleagues are turning trash into glass. Cornejo led the team that created Gorilla Glass, the material used to make the screen on your smartphone. And now, from his lab in Colorado, Cornejo is looking to organic waste as the mining operation of the future.
You find significant amount of silica or silicon sources from things like wheat, rice husk.
Once the food waste is reduced to minerals, Cornejo mixes the ingredients for glass and superheats them in a ceramic crucible. The process isn't ready for industrial scale, but in the lab, Cornejo can make glass with more clarity and purity than most sold on the market today. It may seem far-fetched, but Cornejo says it could be that kind of innovation that inspires the next generation.
We went to Colorado School of Mines to visit a professor named Dr. Cornejo, and he takes these food wastes and turns them into glass. And so we were helping him out by collecting these for him.
The new generation has a much better philosophy on sustainability that we have. When I was a kid, sustainability was not an issue. They find this like a very weird thing, but yet they find this very easy to understand. I think this could be the spark that is needed to revitalize the glass science and the ceramic science in this country.
Whether it's composting or mining for minerals, Cornejo says he's looking forward to the day when repurposing food waste is second nature. For Market to Market, I'm Ryan Robertson.
You can watch this story again on the food waste recycling effort on our Farm Week website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week stories on YouTube and Facebook, and we will have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. Again, that's at farmweek.msucares.com. And who would have thought you could make glass from food waste?
Or rice husks, of
That's
course,
right.
you know, generally used as roughage in cattle feed or something, but there you go. Might see Gorilla Glass on the front of your smartphone. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, in the future, when you look up, there may be more in the sky than rain.
The look-down technology carried by drones promises to revolutionize industry, including agriculture.
That's really what it's all about. That's what everybody wants.
Using technology to level the playing field was on display recently at West Point's Rural Tourism Conference.
In the Food Factor, find out why watermelon is good for you.
In Southern Gardening, Cora Vinca. It's beautiful and heat tolerant. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.